I've noticed that some people downplay the discomfort of realizing you're the safe choice in a relationship. The truth is, everyone wants to feel attractive to their partner. Often, if you're chosen for being safe, it might mean that your partner isn't as physically attracted to you as they were to previous partners. While some argue that feeling safe is more important than physical attraction, I'm not so sure that's always the case. What are your thoughts or experiences with this? Story 1. The safe choice makes a man feel like a second or third option. It may be intended as a compliment, but it's an insult to a romantic partner. Being safe implies they aren't seen as sexy or attractive, or someone their partner wanted or needed, but were chosen because they were perceived as stable, leading to settling. Of course, nobody is a perfect match, nobody checks all the boxes, but settling for safe implies they weren't truly desired. Being desired is important to most men, and discovering that wasn't the case later in a relationship is a serious blow to their ego and self-image, especially if they viewed their partner with desire. Story 2 happened to me. If I had sense back then, I would have ended it when she told me the first time. Have some self-respect, fellas. Story 3. Someone once said I was a safe bet until now and instructed them to pound sand. Story 4. At the very least, you should have a spark for each other, something that, deep down, makes you feel desired and loved. Story 5. Yeah, that happened. It ended in divorce. She put on a good show for a while, but the truth came out. Safe and stable, a nice house and extra money are not as boring as they sound. Story 6. I wouldn't enter or stay in such a relationship. Find someone who truly desires you and treats you accordingly, not someone who sees you as he'll do or Mr. Good Enough. Story 7. I have always had a feeling that she decided to go with me because her close friend, whom she was interested in, wasn't interested in anything long-term with her. Over the years, my guess was sadly confirmed little by little. Story 8. People have assumed I've settled for my girlfriend. Physically, I might be more attractive, but what others don't see is her grounded and rational personality, which was always a hard quality for me to find in women. She has a great career, and she is kind, loyal, generous, patient, and non-manipulative. People often misunderstand probability. Finding all these qualities in one person becomes increasingly unlikely with each additional quality. When you find someone great, stop looking for the perfect partner because they don't exist. Stick to your true deal breakers. Story 9. It's not sustainable. Eventually, you won't be the safe option. You'll be the boring option. They'll make it your issue. Story 10. If someone says they settled for you, then it's time to bail because that is a huge red flag. Says a lot about how they feel about you. Nobody who is satisfied with their partner and their relationship would consider it settling. Story 11. She told me that she only dated me because I was the best option at the time. We met on Tinder. At first, I didn't grasp the significance, but it became apparent that she regretted her decision to be with me. Every time we went out, people would openly disrespect her with comments like, "You're so lucky," or "No disrespect, but he is handsome." Her friend's mom even said, "Honey, he's so much better than you." I felt really bad for her and would console her whenever this happened, but her resentment towards me grew due to others' comments. She would toss my phone across the room and mention that if she met Zayn Malik, she would cheat on me. She wouldn't block guys from her past who tried to see her, and she didn't tell her supplier, who gave her free cannabis, that she had a boyfriend. At the time, I was in the process of becoming a model signed to an agency, but she treated me like I wasn't worth anything. I would drive an hour to see her every day, do her car maintenance, cook for her, and was always supportive of her dreams and aspirations. Despite everything, she said she wouldn't drive to see me because she didn't feel like it, and she never visited my house in our entire 1.5-year relationship. She never thanked me for anything. While I don't expect gratitude, it was difficult seeing her relax with a cold drink indoors while I worked on her car in 110-degree heat for hours. Whenever I shared a dream or aspiration, she told me I couldn't achieve it. She said she didn't want our mixed kids to have my Asian last name to avoid teasing. She was inconsiderate, unempathetic, and extremely privileged. In hindsight, I should have ended the relationship when she admitted she settled for me. This relationship taught me the importance of setting boundaries and not dating individuals who treat me poorly when there are others who would appreciate me. Story 12. Even the replies in this thread downplay it. But it is understandable to feel disrespected by it. Women pretend it's not real because they lose options if they don't. Story 13. Never stay in a relationship like this. Women grow to hate the men they settle for. They resent their boyfriends for not being who they really want. He reminds her of her failure every time she sees him. It is much better to be alone than with someone who has settled for you. Women punish men they settle for. Story 14. Pretty sure that if it were to happen to me, I would have post-traumatic stress disorder from the girls in high school who considered me the kind guy you don't date. Every girl liked me as a person, but never more than just saying, "You were nice." I was never desired, only acknowledged as being nice. I never cared about being safe to hang around, whatever that even means. Story 15. We were talking once, and she said life would be different with him as he was a doctor. I asked her why she left, and she said he was abusive, mentally and physically. I have to give her credit for leaving that situation. Story 16. It's a relationship dependent on what the man can provide, not on emotional connection and mutual attraction. Consequently, it is incredibly unfulfilling and more likely to fail. Story 17. I have a feeling this isn't as significant in some countries as in others. It's important to be with someone because you want to, not because they have a job or career and are financially stable. That's contractual, not unconditional. These things should never be the benchmark for what constitutes a decent person because it doesn't. Even unpleasant people have to work in societies that are deficient socially. I think that's the crux of this problem. Countries that don't look after their people, so their people can't look after themselves properly. Story 18. I keep telling guys to inform their girlfriends that they bought their previous ex's designer bags, clothes, and maybe even paid their bills and vacations without them ever having to ask. But tell her you stopped doing that for your current girlfriend because you love her so much. They usually understand then. Story 19. Everybody is settling to some degree. When you enter an exclusive long-term relationship, you pay an opportunity cost. It is what it is. Story 20. When I was young and lacked confidence, I feared being a second choice someday. I wanted control over my own destiny and to have a say in my choice of life partner, so I worked and competed my whole life to avoid being a second choice. Story 21. It is unfortunate. A good approach is to make the moment of realization feel uncertain for the relationship. Never make your partner feel unsafe in terms of their mental and physical well-being. Make it clear that being the safe option is an immediate end to the relationship. Let the outcome unfold naturally. Story 22. Isn't that always the case? At some point, it all gets old. Even a lesser option could appear enticing just because it's something different. Not to mention, I think overly idealized partners tend to drive people insane, whether through jealousy or dependency. Men and women go a little crazy when everything is too good. Worst behaviors often come out from those who have too much in almost any aspect of life. Story 23. As a joke, I told my husband just now that he was my safe choice, and he said good because it's primal for women to stick with the safe choices. Story 24. It's not a good feeling. I came to that conclusion while dating him, but thankfully we ended things. It eats away at you, especially when it's something you can feel but not exactly pinpoint. Story 25. While some argue that feeling safe is more important than physical attraction, I'm not so sure that's always the case. What are your thoughts or experiences with this? First of all, people vary widely, so there is no one answer to how important physical attraction is. That said, there is hardly anyone for whom physical attraction is the only or even primary factor in whether a relationship is meaningful or fun. Personally, I think for most people physical attraction has an outsized influence on the relationship getting started, but it takes a back seat to other factors when it comes to the relationship staying fun and meaningful. As for being the safe option, I would say that doesn't necessarily indicate settling. My partner telling me that she chooses to stay because she feels safe around me, can trust me, and feels loved by me isn't something I would take as an insult. On the other hand, If I got the impression that me being the safe option was mostly just about providing money or material possessions, I would feel quite differently about it. Story 26. I would argue that a good 80% of women went with the safe choice because the man they actually wanted didn't want them, or because the man that excited them didn't have his life together yet, and she went with the one who did. Most women aren't going to tell their husbands this, but women have a biological clock, and if they want children, they start to prioritize finding a nice man who can provide over the one who excites them. This is reality, gentlemen. It might be unpleasant, but it's true. A large percentage of divorces are initiated by women, often after the children are in high school. Many married women say they have a backup man in mind, just in case. Of those who stay married, how many are unhappy but stay for financial or other reasons? A lot of women settle. It doesn't mean she doesn't love her husband in many ways, but he probably wasn't her first choice, or at least not her dream man. He was Mr. Good Enough. Story 27. I'm a woman, and I've experienced something similar. I don't know if he was ever truly attracted to me, even though we were together for 2 years. I'm sure I was important to him in some way, but he directly told me I'm not really attractive, even though he has a connection with me. I was hurt, but it's best to let him go. Nobody who says something like this after 2 years deserves to be called a significant other. I think it's important that you desire your partner physically as well. Not just in a sexual manner, but also finding them attractive. I can't imagine true love developing when one person consciously thinks the other is unattractive. I think, although the relationship faced some troubles, my ex just got in over his head. I believe many young men reach a point where they suddenly begin to think, if I can have her, then there must be more out there I could have as well, and they become obnoxious about it. Story 28. Twice with 2 people. It really affected me the first time because I was crazy about her and initially heard what she said in the appreciative way that she meant it, recognizing my steadiness while she went off on adventures. We were in our early 20s. I should also have been having adventures, not waiting for someone to figure out what they really wanted. I think that set me up for the second time, where I got married to someone who later realized she was tired of dating and found me interesting and safe. I didn't know any better either. Once that came out, it put a cap on the relationship. There is a kind of guy who sets some of his pride and identity in his steadfastness and commitment. I was proud of being safe. I had committed to the marriage. So I stayed, but finding out that they had settled showed me that the commitment was not reciprocated and never had been. The thing is, between those two, I had no idea what really being appreciated and being mutually attracted felt like. I think I have now, and wow, is it amazing. I don't think I'll ever have the chance again, but now I know why not to settle myself. Story 29. This gets me deep in my soul. Every girl I've had relationships with said early on, I feel safe around you. I am an absolute nerd, so I don't see it. Maybe it's the do or die trying attitude and the determined look in my eyes. Story 30. I have experienced that when I was called safe, there was little else in terms of compliments or descriptions of my desirable traits that she could vocalize. It just meant I was not a dangerous guy compared to many others. I don't find that flattering. If that is the best thing a woman can say about me, she should say nothing at all. Story 31. To a level, we're always the safe bet. There is always a hotter, taller, richer, and more exciting guy they would drop you for if given the chance. Story 32. One aspect of the birth control pill has enabled women to delay childbirth either for their careers or the pursuit of their ideal partner. When the time comes for her to make a decision, she may lower her expectations and expect you to step up and have a child with her within 2 to 3 years. You're essentially writing a blank check as a 4th or 5th choice. If a modern woman won't give you more than 3 years before considering children when she is in her 20s, she isn't worth your time. You are being taken advantage of. Story 33. Makes no sense to me that the word has any negative connotations. We settle every time we make a decision, and the word is not really applicable for a situation where someone is using another as a placeholder. That is unsettled behavior. Story 34. Realizing you are the safe choice can sting, but it's crucial to balance the security of being valued with the need for genuine passion and attraction in a relationship. Story 35. If I felt she was codependent with me for any reason, I would want to end it. There are plenty of other people out there for both of us. Story 36. Every guy in her life comes up and tells you that from the moment you get serious to the day you have kids, right? You're not getting the brother's or uncle's approval until you're a pallbearer at grandma's funeral or something equivalent. Story 37. Actually, when a woman says, "I feel safe with you," I believe men should take that as a high compliment. Story 38. If your girl had a relationship with the bad boy and you aren't him, then she settled for you. Who cares? You settled for her too. It's not like you would have picked her over Alice Eve. It's just that you either never met Alice Eve or failed to woo her. Story 39. Are you saying that a woman calling a man safe means she's settling? Because I can assure you that's probably not how most women mean it. They mean it very positively. It's one word that encompasses trust, protection, intimacy, confidence, and many other positive things. If you're talking about women openly admitting that the guy they're with was their less wanted safety choice, then that's first, wild to admit and not think it would be hurtful, and second, it's messed up to think that way about someone you've chosen. Story 40. Aren't you settling too? I don't know about you, I would be dating a Victoria's Secret model too if I could, but I just can't get them to go out with me. Same for her. Story 41. Depends on how you define safe. Once you're 20 years in, both partners being safe is pretty good. Story 42. When I met my husband, I was a university graduate and he was a high school dropout. I met him on vacation at the seaside, and I thought to myself, this is just a holiday fling. He was smitten, I realize now in hindsight. I was oblivious then. I felt strangely gooey inside when he smiled at me. He asked me to marry him 6 days after we met. I laughed. That couldn't be real, right? Nobody had ever asked me before, and I was 26. We lived in different cities, 250 kilometers apart. I went back home, and we kept in touch by letters and the occasional phone call. It was the 1980s. He moved to my city to be close to me without me asking for it. He made every effort. We had a rough patch at one time when I hesitated due to my parents being worried about the difference in our education levels. We got over it because I couldn't let go of this guy who obviously loved me, and nobody had loved me before. Was I settling? I asked him to marry me that spring because I knew he wouldn't do it a second time after I kind of said no the first time. We married a few months later in August. If I look at those photos, I can see that the difference between us was striking. I was a city girl looking polished and fine. He was a country boy with an ill-fitting suit, and nobody gave our marriage a chance at the time. But we pulled through. He finished high school, got a university degree, we had 2 kids, he grew into himself and became a good-looking man. He supported me through thick and thin, and we were together a little over 30 years until he suddenly died in an accident at work. Did I settle with him? Hell no, no matter what others thought. Story 43. Technically, almost everyone settles for someone. Most people find a great match, but very few find the perfect person who ticks every single box. Story 44. Question for the guys here. If you suddenly became her exact type in looks and height, do you think you would still be considered the safe option or someone she settled for? Story 45. Female here chiming in. My husband was my safe choice, but context is important, I think, because safe and settled for are not interchangeable. I am all accelerator and he is a handbrake. After a string of rotten relationships with alpha males, I decided to change what I was looking for and grew up. I am flighty, impulsive, and forever chasing excitement. My life was a complete mess. I made a very clear decision to look for what kind of man he was and how he treated me. Our first date was the strangest thing. There was no lust. Felt like I had been having dinner with him my whole life, like my soul felt at home. I've never experienced that before. Did I find him attractive? Absolutely. Was he what I typically go for? Absolutely not. 7 years on, he is the best safe choice I have ever made. Do I miss the excitement? Absolutely, but you can't build a life there. Everything has a cost, stability over spontaneity, and I choose this cost day after day with absolutely zero regret. He is the best human I have ever known. I by far got the better end of the deal than him, thinking at the start, oh, she's fun. I've never been with someone like her, and then realizing I'm a hot mess sandwich he's stuck with. Story 46. And when I find someone, that's going to be me. No one has ever actually liked me before, and I don't see that happening now. Story 47. I have news for you. Your partner finds many people more physically attractive than you. You do too. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.